Hey everybody, Joe Castello, Gary Stinnett, hanging out in the Hajek Motorsports Museum, Ames, Oklahoma. Gary, you invited me here for Foggit. You're like, Joe, you're not going to believe it. I can't believe it. This place is amazing.
I said, you got to check this out. It's unbelievable, the stuff that's here. So let's just look at some cars.
We're gonna look. We're kids in a candy store. Check out Bill Elliott's 1987 Ford Thunderbird. Are you a NASCAR guy at all?
Yeah, I watched some, but
four-time drag racing world champion.
I do remember this car breaking the record at like 212 something or other, right? And you can notice stuff that you wouldn't have thought of back in the day, but how sloped that front end is, right? How much wind tunnel, everything's streamlined. It's an amazing piece of history.
Well, I remember the Thunderbirds, and they were very aerodynamic compared to the Chevrolets. We'll see one in a second. But Brent is a Ford guy, right? You got to notice Bill Elliott is just a little bit in front of Dale Earnhardt.
No.
Right? Like, shouldn't it go the other way?
I'm going to push it back.
He's a Chevy guy. No Pontiacs in the
look
field.
at no what? He's cheating. Look at his front end compared to the Chevy.
Hey.
Wasn't fair.
1990, Dale Earnhardt, Lumina, one of the championship cars. Amazing. They've got it all. And to think Dale Earnhardt sat in this car.
I know.
Like, Dale Earnhardt sat in this car. You're looking at Dale Earnhardt's office. Like, this is where he did his thing. And if you're a fan of the Intimidator like I am, it's, I don't know, I'm getting tingles on my arms. I'm getting a little goosebumpage going on here.
And that one too.
Well, this is the OG Aero Monte Carlo. Remember that? To combat the aerodynamics of the Thunderbird, the folks at Chevrolet put on this little aero window, the aero coupe, to direct the airflow.
Yep.
And the original Monte Carlo had that notchback, which I thought actually looked much cooler. But the aero coupe was their response, and it worked. Maybe not as well as the 212 mile per hour car.
He probably still couldn't outrun them, but he could push them around a little bit.
Exactly, the Intimidator. But you know, there's all kinds of stuff. Like, this is a Richard Petty Daytona 500 winning car. And these are not replicas, folks. These are the cars.
Every car he has here is original. He doesn't do replicas, right?
Fireball Roberts. Pretty amazing.
That's history.
Yeah.
The Bud Moore car here.
Fireball was also a Pontiac guy at times, I just want to say. You know where he got the nickname Fireball? I know this.
Okay.
Pitcher.
Really?
Yeah, baseball player, Fireball Roberts. He was a pitcher and then, of course, became legendary NASCAR driver. But it's not just all NASCAR. Of course, we've got all these great examples. We've got a Bud Moore engineering machine. Look at the look here. Joe Weatherly. But just the...
It looks mean sitting here.
It's like art. Isn't it all art?
It's car art. Tiny Lunds.
Kind of makes you long for those days of, we got a Dale Jarrett championship car in 1996. Well, that was the Daytona 500 winner, right?
Yeah.
And Gary's a drag racer. I'm mostly a drag racer. Collectible die casts. Oh my goodness. Brent has got them all.
So Brent Hajek was responsible for starting the Cobra Jet program again 40 years later. He met with Ford, said, what do we got to do this? I want to make it happen. They said, well, we have to produce 50 cars. But who's going to buy 50 Cobra Jets? He said, I'll take the first 10. And many of them are still here. There's 2 or 3 actual raced vehicles. And then I think he's got 2 or 3 stored over there that have never been touched. 0 miles on them.
Unbelievable. And now you think about FlexJet factory stock Showdown, the Cobra Jets, the Copo Camaros, the Drag Pack Challengers. All of that really started with this. And we were talking about it a little earlier today. What if the program flopped? What if nobody liked the cars? What if the cars weren't fast? What if the cars didn't win?
There wouldn't have been any Copo Camaros. There wouldn't be any drag packs. It would just be racing old cars still.
Amazing. All right, let's go check out a big piece of drag racing history. This is like the Bob Glidden section. We got a Stonewoods and Cook machine back here, but this is the Fairmont. You've got a pro stock background. What does this car mean to you?
This is the crown jewel to me in this building, right? The undefeated car, right? This is so cool. Bob Glidden, Mad Dog Bob Glidden. This is unbelievable. And then they got this T-Bird here beside it. The only thing it's missing is it doesn't have his driver's jacket covering up the intake, right?
That is what everybody thinks of. When you see, I saw the intake manifold, that was the first thing, we got to cover the intake. Now, obviously, that's a John Cowsey mountain motor.
Correct. But the story is in 1986, I was on the starting line when Glidden crashed the other car, not this car. He crashed, and I witnessed him throw the cover, his driving jacket, over the intake manifold.
All right, 1 second. And we're going to let everybody behind the scenes. Just a moment ago, you told me you were there when Garlett's flipped over backwards at Englishtown.
1986.
And you were there when Bob Glidden took his Jag. That was in Atlanta. It was one of the, the Chief Auto Parts 711 car, right?
Correct.
711 car.
Yep.
And he put his fire jacket over the intake. You were there.
I was working for Warren Johnson. Just pulled him in a water box. We ran the pair right behind Bob Glidden. And I turned to watch the crash happen. And we shut Warren off and opened the door. And I said, you know, this is the final round now. You know, because if I remember right, whoever Bob was racing red lighted or something. But so we just had to, I think we completed that race on Monday morning for weather reasons. But
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So Bob Glidden, I still wish he was with us because he was one of a kind. He tugs at my heart because he did everything himself, from the engine building, the head porting, you know, everything on the car, and drove it.
Amazing. No, the guy is an icon. Absolute icon. I remember this probe. Before I worked in motorsport, I was just a fan. And I was a fan in Pro Stock, originally Frank Iaconio and Lee Shepard, then Warren Johnson. And this car was a real thorn in the side of everybody. Now, you were racing in Pro Stock, you know, in and around those times. When this car pulled to the starting line, it was very tough to beat.
Yes. I didn't ever like the probes. I mean, this is my least favorite Glidden car just because I didn't find them as sexy as these cars did.
Agreed.
Just
No, agreed. It's a probe. Like, what is that? Probe.
It's a probe.
Well, the probe was originally going to replace the Mustang, from what I understand, until the Ford people freaked out.
Yeah. Now,
Gas Ronda, Mustang, moving into a different era. And what was the story? An NHRA tech official said, like, what are we going to do with these funny cars?
that's right. I mean, he's like, what do we do with these funny cars? So that's how they got their name. Now, this particular car was one of my favorites as a kid, this Jungle Jim car here. I don't know why I like Jungle Jim. Maybe because I like Jungle Pam. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that has something to do with it.
But I just like Jungle Jim, and it was very sad when he passed.
Yeah, Jungle is, when speaking with crew chiefs around the NHRA, he's an icon. He's someone that everybody respects. And John Force has said that, you know, he has modeled many of his attributes after Jungle Jim. And we're seeing some of the cool developments in engine technology as well, like pretty famous engines sitting inside of these machines.
This is the car Hubert Platt drove, and in 1966. What's cool is I got to meet Hubert Platt when I drove the Cobra Jets, and he's pretty fond of tequila, so we had a good time. The Winter Nationals rained out till Wednesday, so Hubert Platt and I got to know each other pretty well in the bus that week.
Amazing. Brent's got all kinds of stuff, though. Fred Lorenzen's car. We've got some Baja-style machines, trucks. And these are all the original cars, right? It's not like a replica, or these are the real deal.
This is the real car Al Joniak won the Winter Nationals with in 1968.
That is amazing. Rice, Holman. And look at the finish. Like,
It's
folks,
pristine.
I don't know if you can see it, but it is. It's pristine is the word.
Fred Lorenzen's car here, what's cool is it is the opposite of this. It is as raced. The story goes that after he won the last race with it, he drove it right into the museum. So the paint blistering, the patina, the wear and tear is just how, it's kind of cool because this lettering is all still hand brushed. You know, everything's vinyl today, everything's painted, and this is original.
Yeah, it's awesome to see.
Parnelli Jones.
Now, the look of the cars, the pop of the cars, the original, that old school, you know, like you would have to be a designer, like a graphic designer, but there was a style.
Now, this is the car that won the 2009 Winter Nationals.
Sitting side by side.
Side by side.
OG, new G.
New G. Danny and Mickey Thompson's.
Was the fastest Mustang at the time, then became the fastest Mustang at the time.
Check this dude out right here.
Yeah, this is amazing. I could look at this all day.
Tell us about the engine.
Oh, I don't know. I know that's the reverse cylinder heads. Reverse cylinder heads, intake on the outside, exhaust on the inboard side. Came out of Indy cars.
This is Indy car
used
engine.
at Bonneville.
Yeah.
And Mario Andretti drove it. See, I listen when people tell me stuff.
Mario Andretti drove this, and they set the record at Bonneville.
And of course, got copies of Hot Rod magazine. And Brent has like all the original copies of the actual magazines in the other room, which is incredible.
This
Dino Don, tell us.
I don't know that much about this Dino Don car, but I wanted to move on to the Tascus.
Carl Tascus high school car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Carl.
Boss 429. This one is actually an all aluminum block Can-Am engine, but he didn't tell anybody that. It's got a very rare aluminum radiator, and
the paint job is multi-hued. You can see it's a little more orange towards the front, gets a little more burgundy towards the back. In the 1960s, that was very difficult to do.
it's crazy that Brent has raced that car. I mean, you would think you're not even going to start it.
Yeah.
Everything in here will start and run.
And I think that's because they're using a certain product.
Foggit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're here, folks. Let's be very honest. They use Foggit on all of these engines to keep them from locking up, to keep the piston rings from rusting or corroding at all. And that's what keeps all these cars pretty much able to start up and run right now.
The one engine I asked him, I'm going to tell out a story. The one engine I asked him if we could start was Glidden's car. It's locked up. They didn't use Foggit.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well.
So we're going to spray some Foggit down and let it soak. But speaking of that, look right here. Pro stock. Now, this is cool. Gap and Roush's Pinto.
Yeah, some people don't know that Jack Roush was into drag racing before he was into NASCAR.
Yes. And the thing I liked at the time, I mean, I was a young kid when this was going on, but I loved that it had flywheel motor wheels on it. See the decal on the back?
Yes.
Now, these front ones, I believe, are recreations of a motor wheel made by Bogart, but the original ones were magnesium, and they would turn brownish, ugly color. They were cool. This was a very feared car. And of course, they moved from this to the Tijuana Taxi four-door Maverick, remember?
Yes. And that's when weight brakes were a thing in Pro Stock. And...
Yeah. Wheelbase.
All right, what's going on here with the spacer between the header and the cylinder head? Is that just to open up, or to it's just an adapter plate, or what's going on?
The exhaust port exited at the wrong angle for high performance use for Pro Stock, so they actually cut away part of the cylinder head. If you see, they notched down 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch, and then they made an aluminum plate that bolted on to redirect the exhaust flow the way they wanted it.
Unbelievable. No, amazing stuff.
Now this car right here I know pretty well, is when I drove the Cobra Jet in 2009 at the Winter Nationals. The car I drove was serial number 001, and it was Gas Ronda's car, which it is right there. That's the car I drove. But Gas Ronda was there, and they wanted to show him on the starting line. So I rode in this, and they towed me. I didn't drive it. They towed me up the starting line and back to the track. So there I was riding in Gas Ronda's funny car.
How quick does your top dragster go? Or your
670s?
Right, your super comp dragster that slowed down to 890s, but it goes 670s.
Yeah.
I wonder what this car ran.
Probably that.
Probably that. Like, that's how far the technology has evolved.
So this is serial number 001.
This is the first of the new era Cobra Jets.
Correct. This is the car I drove at the Winter Nationals in 09. And Gas rode it. I drove him to the starting line in there. And it was so cool that when we got up there for the first run of serial number 001, there were so many people beside me in a water box, Hot Rod, Carcraft Magazine, Ford engineers. They had cameras all over inside the thing. I was a nervous wreck. But I had a good light, and I ran 97 under. I wasn't supposed to go more than a second under, so I didn't.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So after I quit driving it, and then Chad Holzman drove it for several years, and they did very well with it.
We've got a Connie Coletta funny car right here. And Brent's got some letters on the wall from Ford sending to Conrad about, like,
He's got a lot of documentation on all these
paying for a
cars.
hotel room, but the bounty hunter, you think about this, Connie Coletta, world champion, top fuel owner right now. Congratulations, Doug, on winning in 2023. Amazing.
Magnesium wheels all the way around. See how they corrode? I wonder if Foggit would help those.
I don't know. I don't know. It'd be a good thing to try. And then over
What
here,
about this?
Yeah, so we go from old school funny car technology to this one of one.
One of one.
Is what I understand. What is it? GT90. It's got a V12 mid-engine. GT90 V12, 2 engines, 1 car. I'm afraid to go near it.
Basically, it was a V6 they had already developed, and they just cast a new block with 12 cylinders in it. And as you was telling me a little while ago, crazy enough, the starter is at the back of the engine, and the flywheel's at the front, with a drive shaft to connect the starter to the flywheel.
Amazing. And the exhaust ports, the exhaust coming out the back is something that was, I would say, copied. We see that a lot more.
And the
these
wing
days.
will move up and down. Yeah, one of one.
The folks at Dearborn, they can get after it when they
It's
want.
got, what do you say the suspension was from? Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Jaguar suspension. And it came with a spare engine. How about that?
Yeah. Which
Did you see
is
this?
right over here.
Yeah.
You want to see the engine, folks?
Check it out. This is priceless. I mean, what could you attach a dollar figure to this? $1 million? $5 million? Who knows?
Who knows?
It's not for sale.
Yeah.
How about the wall art in this place?
No,
There's
photos of
so
Brent
much
and just
stuff.
some of the great posters. You think about Miss Hurst, Linda Vaughn. Linda's still out there doing a great job. What's up, Linda? And we, you just keep on going.
This car, I called it Detar automotive car, but it was actually Chuck Grimsley's car. That's a local car. That raced at Wichita International Raceway when I was a teenager. And I got to see that run. And after he quit racing, that guy announced at the track for years.
See the altered wheelbase.
Yeah.
This was during a period of rapid innovation.
Fast Eddie Sharpman. That's what they called him. Didn't put it on there, just Ed, but Fast Eddie Sharpman. It was always tuned by Nicholson. I don't know if it says Dino Don was the owner. Maybe Sharpman just drove for Dino.
And you can see the hand-painted contingency decals, the Crane Cam logo. Crane Cam's at the time located in South Florida.
Another gas Ronda funny car.
The injector stack's sticking out of the hood. I mean,
I know,
it's
I
been
wanna do
replaced
that.
by the butterflies, but that's pretty
I'm
cool
a carburetor guy, but on my 67 Camaro, when I finally get done like competitively racing it, I want to put stacked injectors through the hood. The ones that are staggered with the blue tips.
Yeah.
Just to look cool.
Just to look cool. That would look cool. That would look cool. Just, Brent has done such a great job.
Big Daddy Warbucks. Phil Bonner's funny car.
66 Ford Mustang. AFX. And the FX category is now back in NHRA drag racing, a little bit different
Quite a bit
program.
Over here we got like the entourage of Dino Don stuff, right? Here was his wagon.
The Ugly Duckling.
Yes, sir. Jardine headers.
I like long roof cars. What about you, Gary? Like, drag racing is the only place where you're going to see station wagons that race.
I like a Chevy 2 station wagon or a Vega wagon. Not much on the Ugly Duckling.
All right. Well, I love it. Especially because when we're doing attention in the pits, I can hop in with a bunch of people and drive around the pits.
Al Extran, he raced that car, but I think he became more famous in years after that. Did he do a lot of tech articles and magazines, right?
I love the candy color, like a
It is a
candy
burnt orange.
persimmon. Another Dino Don machine. Danny Thompson drove this car. Brent was telling me, like, this car has set records, speed records on the Salt Flats and at Talladega. And the same car has a record at both venues, which is a very rare circumstance. Just amazing. You could spend all day in here, guys. The wall art is like a whole nother gear. But we need a big finish, right? Don't we need a big finish?
You know what Brent told me?
What's that?
The one thing these all have in common is they all use Foggit.
I think that works for me. I don't know. If you're in the area, I don't think you can stop by, right? It's like by invitation only, and this is why we're here. Folks, Gary has developed this amazing product called Foggit, which you can learn more about at foggit.com. But Gary, what does it do? What's the importance of it?
It protects all these cylinder walls and valves from rusting. If you leave these engines set, classic cars, high-performance cars, anything, over a given time, the cylinder walls will rust up and they won't turn over. They're locked up. and this will stop that.
Simple as that. It's high performance, engine protection, world class, amazing stuff. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. You can learn more at foggit.com. If you ever get the invite or the chance, you might want to check this place out.